Well, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Go-To Food Podcast, brought to you by Blink, the UK company revolutionising the POS game. And today we're joined for a farming and butchery special by the man who's been supplying some of the UK's greatest restaurants for over 2 decades, including St John, Lyle's, Camille, the Camberwell Arms and more, and has recently opened his own butcher shop in Bermondsey, the legendary farmer Tom Jones. You've been driving carcasses down all morning. It's been a bit of a fuck-up, hasn't it?
Yeah, a little bit, yeah. It's been pretty taxing.
Yeah.
You're only as good as your vehicles, and mine's not very good at the moment.
No.
And it's quite full of meat as well, which is. But I'm here.
Yeah.
I'm here.
You're here.
So it took you, what, 6 hours to get down?
Woke up at 4, left at 5:45, and so I got here at about 10:30, or into London about 10:30. That's not too bad actually.
With a broken van.
Yeah,
you take that.
Got to the edge of London fine, and then just crawling through.
Crawling across.
Yeah.
Where have you come from? Like, where is the farm?
The farm's in North Herefordshire.
Yeah.
In a village called Kinnersley. Do you know it?
No.
It's the nearest sort of landmark would be or town's Hailmoy.
Okay, nice.
Yeah, just
Beautiful.
about to go into the book festival there.
I love it.
Yeah, that's.
Are they meat eaters at the book festival?
Yeah, I think so.
You
yeah. There's
try and feed them.
Yeah, there's meat.
I know. Yeah, there are meat stalls.
Yeah.
Okay, nice.
And a lot of books.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of sheep on the hills around the
beautiful.
town. So yeah, they can go and help themselves if they really want.
Whatever happened to the great farmer Charlie? I mean, were you friends with him? Was there a farmers' union? I mean, it looked like. Did you ever watch that Pit Q Chef Nights Out? Where he came and he was pissing on the doors. Like, he looked like the loosest farmer ever. I wonder if he was like a legendary figure in the farming world. Maybe
or a
not.
plant.
Oh,
Yeah.
Sorry, Pit Q.
Yeah.
From Somerset, wasn't he? I think.
Yeah.
Is he?
He was the loosest, wasn't he?
Yeah, I met him one night. Yeah, he was good fun.
Yeah.
That's it. I never met him again.
No.
I assume he's still alive.
Talking of loose, can we offer you a drink? Do we have a drink today, Ben?
We do. Although it's like Coles to Newcastle. Well, I don't know. Maybe this is not your mate, but Alex's mate. We got sent some of your beautiful cider.
Oh,
you sell this in the shop.
We do, and
know
that is very nice. Yeah, we sell 2 types of cider.
You do. The other one I've put over the pig's head.
Skyberry, which is a beautiful cider. It's stiller than that one. Is
really?
It's a fizzier.
This one's got a bit of life in it. Yeah.
Yeah, it has, but that's really nice.
So Manton Hollow, Quince number 2, limited release.
I am not. This is very nice. I'm not a go-to cider drinker. I'm an ale drinker.
Yeah. Well.
But that's because I was brought up in and around GL, Gold Label, and Strongbow.
Beautiful
so
stuff.
That will put you off cider.
Yeah, that will put you off
But
cider.
obviously, when you drink this, you can drink that whole bottle.
Yeah, easy.
Happily, yeah. Even on a overcast day.
Oh, you're really painting a beautiful picture. I'm talking about
Will you
beautiful
indulge
pictures.
while you're here? I mean, I know
Yes,
you're
absolutely.
in the van, but
We're gonna put it in the
We
blink.
torched the van.
yeah, okay, good. The van's
We're
gone.
gonna put it in the blink glasses.
I'm walking home.
The blink chalice.
You can take that glass.
Freddie,
home,
pass your.
Thank you very much.
We're full of treats.
Hold
today.
on, Tom. There's more to come. I just didn't want it to fizz over.
So obviously we're saying the intro, but you've recently opened a butcher shop with the ex-head chef of Rochelle Canteen and St John, Alex Keys, Camberwell Arms, friend of the show, Mike Davis, and obviously a couple of master butchers. But talk us through what's going on there, why you chose to do it, why it's changing the game in terms of the offering in this country.
I started Meat Supply in 2002, so I've been doing that for 23 years, and it's been a roller coaster, and it's been exhilarating, greatly satisfying, and I've loved every minute of it. And it's been extremely difficult physically and at times mentally, but that's just part of it. But you absorb that. And I'm 45 now. Turned 45 a few weeks ago.
Happy birthday.
Did you send me a card? I can't remember.
We did, yeah.
Yeah, we did.
And a
cake.
little envelope of cash.
Oh, God. Yes, that's right. 500 quid.
Exactly.
Very nice.
Well, we want to get you on the pod.
Thanks to Blink as well.
Yeah, exactly.
And I thought I can't. So I've been doing this independently: farming, butchering, delivery, marketing, everything, for that period of time. And although the enthusiasm has pushed me through, physically I didn't think I could get to 50 and keep going.
Yeah.
So, for some years I've been trying to, I suppose, cement the business and get other people involved, or you could say expand the business.
Yeah.
So there's been lots of different meetings and options, and some have got very close and haven't happened. And I was still looking, and then Spark, by chance actually, came across the Archway at Spa, and Randolph Hodgson, who
Cheese man.
yeah. the cheese guru, farms on the hill opposite me in Herefordshire. So
Is that right?
Yeah, he's just on the border.
So does that mean you've got Fernvero quite near you as well?
So Fernvero is very close as well. Yeah.
What a spot.
Yeah, it is. It's incredible. And I'm going off the subject slightly. There's a Neal's Yard creamery on the hill as well at Dawston that make the ragstone cheese.
What? Yeah.
So I go there to get the waste whey for my pigs. So there's quite a hub going on. I think Randolph had heard that I'd inquired about the arch, and he said, "Get him in."
So you got the seal of approval.
I got the stamp.
Yeah, well played.
And
I
then
got fast tracked.
But then, how do you bring Mike and the other boys over? Because they're huge names in the food world.
Yeah, well, I've supplied Mike at the Camberwell for, I would say, sort of everything's pre and post pandemic, isn't it? But it's definitely pre, and it's probably 10 years, I would have thought. I supplied the Anchor and Hope when he was there as well, when he started off there. So he was just, and I'd supplied Alex at, he'd been at St John, then he went to Rochelle Canteen, and then he was up at the Bridges in Rattling Hope in Shropshire.
Yeah.
And we'd always said that we'd do something together if something came up. This came up, I gave him a call.
He was in.
He was in, and which is great. And then I've been telling Mike about the project. I delivered some meat over there, and he asked me how it was going, and I said, it's on, it's going to happen. And he was so enthusiastic. I drove back that evening. I thought I could do with some of that enthusiasm.
Yeah.
So I called him up the next day and asked him if he'd be involved, and he was in.
Unbelievable.
He was in. So that was really good. And they bring so many skills, but crucially different skills as well.
Yeah.
And crucially, they've worked with the meat for so long that they know it and they trust it, and they can sell it with confidence.
Are you from like farming stock?
Yeah. So I was born and raised. I was born in Hereford, but I was raised in the farmhouse that I'm in now.
Wow.
Although the family farm was sold in 2009. So we retained a bit of land around the farm, but we're in the farmhouse. So I was born and raised where I am now.
Amazing.
Looking onto the.
And it was always a livestock farm, or was it sort of everything at one point and then?
Yeah, it was always a livestock farm. I could obviously remember my grandfather farming it. He had sheep and cattle. Then my father came back to farm, and he went into intensive chicken farming, which was the main reason that I left the farm.
Yeah, really? Okay.
Yeah, he would say that the future of farming was factory, and I just couldn't see how that was. I just couldn't. It was so alien to me.
Yeah.
I was all about conservation and birds.
So what did you go and do? You just.
So naturally, what do you do if you're a farmer's son and you don't want to do factory farming? You go off to be an actor, don't you? I mean, that's the natural progression.
That's the obvious move, yeah.
How did that go down?
Pretty well. Well, I'd already got into, I suppose, script writing and writing in general before I'd gone off to study at Middlesex University I was living in Tottenham and studying Golders Green in the first year. So I was already writing. But I'd gone to study drama, so I thought I may as well give that a go. And but I'd pretty much fallen out of love with treading the boards by the end of the 3-year course. But I was writing and having a few plays produced in London and writing a novel, and I was just that was my love. So that I've continued doing that ever since.
Wow.
Published stuff or not?
Well,
I'm just wondering. I'd like to get hold of it.
Potentially soon, yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Come on, give us an
In
exclusive.
what sort of area of your life?
Well, it won't be called The Life and Times of Farmer Tom, but it's basically The Life and Times of Farmer Tom.
A bit of the sort of like a James Rebanks-esque look at you on the farm and that sort of stuff?
Yeah, with more bad language.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah.
That's what he needed.
And darker times.
Yeah.
But yes, it's sort of my pathway growing up on a farm, believing and seeing that you didn't have to factory farm to make it a go of it. And actually, what I was seeing as I was growing up was how far removed farmers were from the produce, from their own produce. I couldn't understand that.
Yeah, right.
I would sit there at Sunday lunch and we'd have lamb, beef or pork and I would say to my grandfather, so this is we could sit there, you could see the sheep and the cattle living in the field, and you say, so we're eating that. And they said, don't be so stupid. Why would we do that?
Yeah.
Well, you spend all your life making, and why aren't we eating it? Oh no, that's not the done thing.
Really?
Yeah.
So this bucolic narrative of farmers, kind of this love for the land and love for their stock.
Yeah. I know shepherds who don't eat lamb.
Really?
Because I know some shepherds won't eat lamb because of the smell of afterbirth equates to cooking a lamb.
Yeah, right.
So they cannot be anywhere near a cooking piece of lamb.
Sort of get that.
Yeah, but I just found that naturally very strange. If a bird flew over, I wanted to know what it was, rather than be sort of going, oh, they want us to protect these things, ripping hedges out, that sort of thing that a lot of farmers were doing.
Yeah.
It just didn't sit very well with me. So what I've written about is that pathway through there, trying to stay true to my beliefs and roots, and seeing what's best ultimately for the environment and conservation. I suppose being forced away from the farm and then coming back on my white steed to triumphant applause and then harrowing failure.
Yeah, right, okay.
Well, I mean, you mentioned darker times. What are some of the darker times, if you can share them with us? I mean, we're not going to ruin the whole book. We're still going to want to promote that. But I mean, if you could give us because it's quite a protected life for most people. We don't really know what goes on in farming and everything.
Yeah, an awful lot of toxic masculinity, an awful lot, and shelter, depression from isolation, but also depression from the industry, and the industry is broken, and it's just a mess in so many ways, and there's an awful lot of greed.
Yeah. When you say are you talking about like the world of restaurants buying meat from people like you, or are you talking about the
No,
supermarket?
not at all. I mean, that's been absolutely that has been absolutely incredible, and it was so refreshing. So going back again to, I worked in TV for a little bit, and then came out of TV. I was a run on Harry Hill's TV Burp.
Nice.
First series.
Really?
Oh.
He won a BAFTA.
Yeah, you're welcome.
And I think I was integral.
Yeah.
Basically.
Has he won BAFTA since for that?
If it was.
As in, I
If
know.
it wasn't, no, he hasn't.
No.
Well, no, I left. First series, I left.
You were out. BAFTAs are gone.
I wanted to go back in. They said we've filled the position, and the BAFTA was gone. So it's technically it was me.
Yeah.
But what I was
Beautiful.
looking to work maybe elsewhere in TV, I was in a gastropub called the William IV.
You were going to say boy band there for some reason.
No, they wouldn't have me.
No, okay.
No, I cannot. My name's Tom Jones.
Yeah.
I cannot sing to save my life.
Well, you're a good actor.
One note in 100 I can hit, and then that's it. Yeah, I can act.
Yeah.
Oh my god. Yeah.
Unbelievable.
So you're in a gastropub.
So I'm in a gastropub. The chef said, "What's your backstory?" I said, "I'm a farmer's son from Herefordshire." And he said, "Can you get me some decent meat?" He said, "There's not a great deal in London, or we can't find it, or we want some proper meat." I said, "Yeah, I'll give it a go." So actually, at the time, my father, although he still had the intensive chickens, he had changed his cattle herd from continental cattle, Belgian Blues, Charolais, Limousins, to slower growing native breeds, Herefords, and he was butchering the odd one and selling a bit of meat. So I called him up, and I said to the chef, "What would you want?" He said, "Just send me a whole cow." So that was adventurous, and a whole cow turned up.
Wow.
Dead.
Yeah.
And in primal cuts, so it wasn't cut down into steaks, and it wasn't labelled. It's just 300 kilos of just huge pieces of meat.
Fuck.
And nobody knew what was going on.
As in, there just wasn't the skills in the kitchen. No one knew what to do with it.
Well, they knew what to do with it if it was labelled.
Yeah, right. Okay.
We could just about pick out the sirloin, the fillet, the rump. I think we could pick that out.
Yeah.
Maybe, the shin you could pick out, and that was it, really. Yeah. And I didn't know. You see, having grown up on a farm that was factory and not experiencing its own produce, I didn't know anything.
No.
So it was a real learning curve. He bought a mincer and minced most of it and pied a lot of it. But actually, fundamentally, it had been dry aged as well, about 3 weeks. The flavour was superb. The grass-fed Hereford, that was it. And that was how it started. That was the first liver in 2002. And that's what set me off.
And so from then, did you go back to the farm and just start doubling down on what that was?
So 2003, I got a call from my mother to say that let's call him, he was my grandfather's first cousin, which I don't know what that makes him to me, but we called him uncle. That's
okay.
simple. Had been sort of discovered in a farmhouse in,
oh god,
spooky,
in
mid Wales, and he was in a pretty poor state of health. The animals on the farm were in a pretty chaotic state as well. And would I, this is it, return on my steed and save the day? Pretty much know nothing about agriculture.
Wow.
So I said, yeah, go on then, I'll go back. And so it was a 450, 500 acre hill farm in mid Wales. And I just went straight in basically, and that was it. But I'd also started to or I was on the cusp of, it was around about there when I'd said to the chef Reno at William IV, would you know anyone else who'd be interested? And he said there's a place called the Anchor and Hope down in Southwark who had just sort of hit the ground running and they might be interested.
Yeah.
But when I got to the farm, although it was chaotic and disarray, there was superb, genuine, organic, although not certified, speckle face, Welsh sheep, drinking spring water and grazing heather at 900 feet above sea level.
Cool.
And you're like, well, that's not a bad place to start.
Yeah.
Plus, there was a herd of Herefords as well
Wow.
that were indigenous kind of to the valley. They're almost like their own breed. They were.
So he was on it, the boy, even though he'd gone mad in his farm.
Oh no, totally mad.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, he wasn't on it at all. He basically retired at the age of 40.
But he put together this crack squad of animals, or as in, had he put them there? The speckle-faced lamb and the Herefords and...
Yeah, well, the ones that weren't dead were alive, put it that way.
Right, okay. So what's the problem with the greed in the industry then? Currently?
Well, I was basically shoved out of the farm by just basically old, white, greedy farmers towards the end. That was in about 2010. I was there 7 years. I'm not sure Uncle was insane, but he portrayed an awful lot of the traits, and it was very difficult to deal with him.
So were you farming alongside each other to begin with?
Literally, I was in the farmhouse that was derelict. There was no electricity. There wasn't a roof on half of it. When he was basically found, he was in the kitchen with 4 sheepdogs and no knees. His knees had totally worn out, and he was. There was a double knee operation in the pipeline. Like I say, he'd retired probably at the age of 40, so he'd had 38 years, mostly just sitting watching Emmerdale and Loose Women. Loved Loose Women.
Yeah.
And eating bread, cheese, and butter.
Cool.
And drinking spring water that was piped straight out of the hill.
Wow.
So
he was well hydrated.
He was very well hydrated. Loved his tea. But he was mean. He was pretty mean, and he was not good to himself.
No. What did he make of you suddenly in the mix?
It's difficult to know, really. Again, this is where I experienced a lot of toxic masculinity. You know, it's a very manly. You can find in farming, it's a very manly industry.
Yeah.
And if you're not burning and slashing and whatever else you do, you can be misinterpreted.
Yeah.
I think I probably was when I arrived. Plus, I never really got with my father as well, so I had that to contend with, and it was a lot of dick swinging farming, and I was ducking the dicks.
But also dark, wet.
Sometimes grab a dick. I mean, that would just be with hindsight.
I tried to grab a dick, but they were spinning too fast.
But also like dark, wet, remote Wales, no electricity, probably no signal. Must get pretty lonely and depressing for anyone.
It was incredible though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, deep winter.
Well, so his mother died when he was 8 years old, and then he was basically brought up by his father.
Yeah.
Who was unbelievably hard on him.
Right.
hence he became a very sheltered young man, and he was told he was worthless, and he would only speak fondly of his grandfather. I don't know when he died, but he would never ever speak about his father, and his father would let him go out and socialise, what have you. He never met girls, he never had a wife, so he was a hermit. There is a beauty to the winters in that part of the world. I absolutely love them. It was such a challenge. The coldest it got there was -18.
Christ.
I think that was 2009, 2010 when we had that really severe winter. And the toilet split in half in the house. That's how cold it was.
It's like
and didn't feel right for 2 weeks.
Wow.
Yeah. I thought you were going to ask what I did, but I won't go into how I navigated that situation. But they were beautiful, and you could ski from the top of the hill down to that. You could ski from the top of the hill across the yard and then down to the bottom yard. That was when it was really snowing and frozen over. The animals, like I said, the cattle were just absolutely double hard. That didn't worry them
faze
at all.
them.
No, if you knew snow was coming, you'd open the gates off the hill, and the older sheep would lead the younger sheep down, all that sort of thing. And it was a beautiful place to be. Now, if I hadn't had the opportunity or the business to go to London predominantly and other cities every week in the van, I would have probably gone mad, completely mad, especially with everything that was going on. A lot of the bullying and, as I say, the toxicity. But to get off the farm, because it is beautiful, but it is draining.
You need to escape,
Yeah, we didn't have any heating in the house, so we had open fires, so you're basically chopping down trees.
Christ.
So it was hard.
It's fascinating because my knowledge of you, I used to be at the Dock Kitchen, we used to buy from you, and you would drive in your van and you'd walk up this sort of long ramp with carcasses over
steps.
With carcasses over your shoulder. And you just thought, this guy's living the fucking dream. He's swanning about London, driving this like beautiful meat to restaurants. So it's fascinating that what was going on in Wales was not the dream at all, really.
No.
And there's lots of people who wax lyrical about meat and improving standards. What does the day-to-day of being that farmer look like? I know you've just described these cold winters, but...
Yeah, it's loving what you do.
Yeah.
There's so many farmers I've met that should either not be in farming or don't love it, or would they've still got the ghost of a previous ancestor saying you will be a farmer. I know so many farmers, and they just plod on and they do it. But I just genuinely loved it, and what I enjoyed doing the most was bringing this high quality product. Because also at the time I knew that quality meat was not. It wasn't all over the place. It wasn't on the supermarket shelves, whatever. It was, the quality of meat was pretty poor. So actually, when you bring somebody, a chef, and you see the customers eating it in restaurants, this high quality meat, it's incredibly fulfilling and satisfying. And genuinely never did it for the money. Not to say that it hasn't been good, but just that was never the first thought. Farmers say to me now, you sell it for a pretty penny down there. They'll buy anything down in London. So actually, I think we're probably I would say we're one of the most reasonable butchers in London. It's not going to cost you the earth. But the time is spent to go and find it. So if I'm not farming, so we got beef, sheep and pigs of my own. And then I go to fellow farmers, friends who are doing the same. And I go to livestock markets as well, Hereford, Kingston, Targarth, local markets. And basically just filter out the quality.
Yeah.
It's a bit like gold. It's a bit like Seven for Gold. I mean, there's so many sheep there that you could buy the whole lot, but I need to have native breeds because they're the tastiest, and they've probably lived the most extensive life. And so you'll be looking at a lot of continental sheep like Texels and Charolais and whatever else, and I'm not buying them, so you're reducing your own offering in a sense. But that's part of the fun of it. It's great, and a lot of the effort at the moment is trying to find the pigs, because pigs are the one domestic animal that has really suffered over the years in terms of popularity with farmers.
Really?
Yeah, because we're a fat conscious society, and the native breed pigs that have the best flavour are prone to going to fat, because they're slow growing, but they're also they just put on a lot of fat.
Right.
And
which is delicious.
Which is absolutely delicious. And with pork fat, there are so many benefits and so many uses for it as well. So it's not like, frankly, sheep fat can be pretty unpalatable, really.
Bit much, isn't it?
It's a bit
especially
much,
when you see it reset in the pan. When you're cooking, you think, fucking hell.
And you're not going to get a piece of toast and be like, oh, yeah, I love mutton fat. You can do things with it, but certainly with pork and with beef, the uses
proper
are endless.
stuff.
So that's what we go for, the native breed pigs. But there are 12, 13 native breed pigs, and they're all on, apart from one, I think, are on the endangered, on the rare breed list. They're just not in fashion, but they're the ones I'm trying to find. So
people don't care about pigs, do they? As in, there's been campaigns around chicken and people, beef and welfare of other people. I mean, we must eat a lot of pork as a nation. Between bacon and sausages
tons,
and what have you.
Thousands of tons of it, yeah.
But no one seems to give a shit
about how it's reared.
I'd say so, yeah. As in, you clearly do. But
well, we're the furthest.
In the broader,
our society is the furthest removed from agriculture we have ever been, and it is getting. That gap is getting wider day by day. So people don't care. People buy into what they're being told what they're told they're eating, or how it's been farmed. A lot of people just don't care. Full stop.
Yeah.
People eat bacon, would never think how the pig has lived or where it's come from. But if you want proper fat on your bacon, you would go to a native breed pig. But a lot of the pigs that end up in the supermarkets or wherever have been bred to have very little fat on them.
Yeah, right.
Because it's not a selling point. So, but the fun of trying to find the native is you tour about the country, you get to meet people. I'm going to the pig market in Hereford, shut during the pandemic and never reopened. So I'm going as far as Cirencester now to buy pigs. Cirencester Market on the Cotswolds, which is gallingly exactly halfway to London. Yeah. So you've driven to London the day before, and then you drive halfway back to London to go and buy some pigs in a trailer.
Well,
but
talking about pigs, Ben, do you have any treats for us today?
I've done a half a pig's head. Yeah.
You've done half a pig's head.
Yeah.
All right.
You chat amongst yourselves, and I'm gonna haul it out.
I just want to say, for those listening who don't sort of understand how sort of you've got these incredible chefs involved, what is the offering? I don't think we've explained that properly. Like, how is it different to any other butchers? Or like, because people listening going like, fuck me, why are all these amazing people involved? Just normal people who don't really understand.
Who we're selling to, or in terms of Alex and Mike are involved in the company?
Well, just the whole sort of project. Like, what makes it so brilliant that everyone wants to be involved, and what you're doing is so different to something else? Is it just incredible meat? Just way better meat than anyone else? And how do they get involved as punters if they're listening in London?
I daren't say it's better than anyone else.
Well,
but
I would.
But it's very good. It's very good meat. I think my passion and enthusiasm has shone through over the years to the guys who got involved, and then to all the chefs that I've supplied. But it's the proof is in the pudding, 100%. Or in the pig's head.
So like Mike Davis's day-to-day now would be to go to Bermondsey and just be butchering meat up. Yeah, and making sausages. Which is quite incredible, because people would be like, this is amazing. A guy who owns one of the coolest pubs in the country is giving up his hours every day to go and butcher meat. Yeah, which seems quite crazy.
Our ultimate goal, wherever this business goes, and hopefully it's a success, if we can, is to expand into agriculture education eventually.
Yeah. But surely you guys have got a food offering coming. You've got these two brilliant chefs. I know you used to do a bit of cooking back in the day as well. Have we thought about doing a little add-on to the butchery?
Yep.
Go on.
As a restaurant coming soon.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
In Bermondsey, or?
Yeah. 2 doors down.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. We'd talked about it actually from the beginning, before we'd opened last year. We sort of talked about it. It was to sort of say, and I think we need a restaurant, because you've got 2 incredible chefs with so much knowledge.
Yeah.
I've worked with restaurants for over 20 years. It would be such a shame.
Apologies, Freddie.
We've actually got a pig's head on the table.
And a little raft of sausages, just because that's what you do with bits and pieces, isn't it?
Yeah, that is.
Beautiful.
So yeah, that
Sorry to
we've
confront you with that pig's head.
no,
again,
so,
Tom.
no,
Don't know when you last saw it,
not
but
at all. I saw that live 4 weeks ago.
how was he or she?
How was she?
Yeah,
As a pig,
yeah,
a tremendous character.
yeah. I bet.
So what have you done it, Ben?
So I got half a pig's head. I rubbed it in some salt. I put it with some cider, the other cider that you sell,
Skybury.
in a big roasting tray. So I did a salt of like fennel, chili, some coriander seed, black pepper. Steamed it basically over the cider for about 3 hours, and then this morning I put it in the oven and tried to crisp it up. I then had to come in on the train, so it's not as crisp as it once was.
That's great.
In your lap.
Yeah, in about I was getting some really funny looks on the train, to be honest with you.
But people were saying, "Oh, that smells delicious."
Yeah, they were. Some were. Others were thinking,
Why have you got a
"Fuck
pig
is
head
this
in
guy?"
there?
Yeah. But pig's head are good, right? A lot of meat on there.
Oh, they're beautiful.
How much would that cost? Just a half a pig's head like that?
Oh God. Well, I'm going to say the wrong thing here
Yeah, because people will be going to the.
we have got
counter.
slightly more. Things cost slightly more than when I was doing it. I would sell that back in the day, £2 a kilo.
£2 a kilo.
No wonder I haven't got any money.
Yeah.
But yeah, I can't tell you what it is. I say £3.54 a kilo now.
Okay.
Yeah, it's
Unbelievable.
not an awful lot more.
How tough?
But then, of course,
let's finish on the restaurant.
Sorry, I'm
yeah,
going to try and get
but
something.
if you're dealing with, so I would sell predominantly a pig's head. Well, Camberwell would have pig's heads, whatever, but obviously predominantly be St John.
Yeah, yeah.
And St John would buy all the offal.
Yeah, yeah.
And they would buy the bag of offal. So you'd kill 8 sheep, and
Yeah,
you would
yeah.
have 8 sheep plucks, the lungs, the liver,
Yeah,
and the heart in a bag. And so you'd say to St John, "Would you like this?" And they'd say, "Yes, we would." Would you go to someone else and say, "Would you like this bag of offal?" And they'd say no.
Well, now Camille.
I mean, yeah, well, Camille would. There's other places as well.
Rochelle a bit.
Rochelle would, but unwaveringly, St John would just say
Yeah.
yes. Beef offal, the bag of beef offal for one animal, including the beef liver.
Yeah.
Which the only other place that would have it would be Hereford Road, which is now sadly closed.
Yeah, that
over
was
in,
a proper restaurant.
yeah,
wasn't
that was great.
it? Yeah.
I'd always take Tom a beef liver. So yeah, you know, in some respects, not everybody's taking a pig's head. Anyway,
No, of
you know.
course.
No, that was.
Let's finish on the restaurant though. So it's gonna be a couple of doors down, and what? Just using everything you're doing.
Yeah, it's going to be canteen style, and yeah, just utilising all of our great stuff basically.
Are you gonna be cooking as well?
No, God, no.
Why not? Because you used to cook back in the day, right? You had a couple of. Were you in Kentish Town?
I was in Kentish Town at the Abbey Tavern. Yeah.
How was that? What was the offering there?
The offering was staples, but because the meat was obviously very good,
Yeah.
they were elevated staples.
Yeah.
We tried to. James Lowe came to work. I always like to say James Lowe from Lyle's came to work for me, and he did.
Yeah.
But I mean, he wasn't. He was really just exasperated at our setup. So we were kind of working for him.
Yeah.
But he was phenomenal, and he elevated our menu to greater heights. That's just before we.
So what was on there? Give us a bit of a run.
Oh well,
through
you
of
know,
it.
we just had the best steak going in. We just had very, very good steaks,
Yeah.
and we did this £15 steak, and it was a bit sort of based on whatever we'd slaughtered. It was £15. So if you kill a Dexter, which is sort of a lot smaller to a Hereford, it would
Yeah.
still be £15.
Well,
What a cool concept.
Yeah, not financially viable.
No one made any money.
But it's good fun. And but back then, I mean, I was thinking about on the way here, beef carcass has doubled in price in 5 years. So when we were doing it, we were running the kitchen in 2012. We ran it for a year. Beef was a lot more affordable. Frankly.
well, I was going to say, how tough has it been like the last year? Beef prices, farmers' tax rates, all that kind of thing. It must have been a tough year for everyone.
Yeah, I think I do move in different circles to a lot of farmers, so I'm not affected by an awful lot of what has happened, I have to say. I've never.
But the beef prices, sure.
Beef prices has been great for the beef farmers who are still in it, but the main reason that the beef prices are so high is because so many beef farmers have felt that they can't make it work. So they've got out of their herds over the years, and so there's less cattle in.
So that's what's happened. Farmers have got out of the game, and the price has gone up.
BSC of the late 90s clobbered them. Yeah. Then foot and mouth, early 2000s, not far after it. And then ever since then, TB testing, tuberculosis testing in cattle, and if you're found to have a reactor, you're shut down. Your business is restricted, and your cattle are sent off. The ones that are reactors are sent off to kill, and then you have another test, and it just has gone on. And there's been no end in sight. Plus, the average age of a farmer is,
God, I dread to think,
60
something,
70.
70.
Wow. 70. So
you're an outlier.
So I'm a baby.
Yeah.
I was receiving a young pittance, but a young farmer subsidy up to the age of 40.
Really?
That's as far as it went. Yeah, that was EU. Obviously not there now. But
no, looks like we might be creeping back though.
Yeah, the farmers are going to bring it back. The farmers really wanted. A lot of the farmers I spoke to really wanted Brexit, and then Brexit came, and they're like,
"Hold on,
oh dear,
that was a mistake.
That's gone badly." So yes, you cannot turn around cattle numbers as quickly as you can sheep, or obviously pigs, or rabbits, or whatever. A cow will have one calf, is 9 month gestation, one calf in 9 months. Very rarely have twins.
Is that right?
Yeah. So then, if that calf comes out dead, which it can happen, then you've just basically kept a cow for 9 months for nothing, and then you've got to start the process again. So in terms of thinking about returns from a cow, and that's beef farming. Obviously, dairy prices have been pretty awful over the years as well, and then obviously the margins are tight. So much goes into producing the feed to keep the cattle going, and all in all, less numbers mean yes, and then you got supply and demand, and there's not so I'm told there's not a great deal of cattle left in Europe either, but otherwise they would be coming over.
Look.
Well, mentioning price, there is some good news still to be had in this world, and some great deals to snatch up, because today's episode is brought to you by brilliant friends Blink, the UK-based legends turning the POS game on its head. No long-term contracts, no hidden fees, no per device charges. If you run a restaurant and you're about to need a POS system.
Okay.
So
you actually are, Tom.
Will you commit yourself to Blink?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
We'll give you.
Where do I sign?
Well, we'll just get your email at the end and introduce you to Greg, and
that's easier.
Perfect.
Yeah.
But if you run a restaurant, obviously we just done a deal on air, which you've heard. It's incredible. You know how painful traditional POS systems can be: clunky, slow, and worst of all, expensive. But Blink is different. It's the first POS that needs zero training. Your team can be up and running in minutes. It's built for real hospitality workflows, and it costs just £49 a month for unlimited devices and 24/7 UK support. Well, most charge £300.
£300, I hear.
And this is unlimited, so it's unbelievable.
How much?
£300 a month normally. This is £49.
The boys at Blink will do it 49, and you get to hang out
unlimited
with Greg.
device.
That is a steal.
Yeah.
Genuinely, Tom.
So Blink wants to help you save money, Tom.
Hey, well, good. I mean,
so use the code Go-To Blink, and we're going to give you a first month for free as well. How good's that? Just the treats keep on coming. And we're also going to be running a competition soon for a whole year free. But we don't tell Tom that because we want him to get the money. Anyway,
we get to pick the winner of the competition.
Oh, we pick the winner?
Yeah.
All right, well, we can pick
so
Tom.
if Tom's in the hat,
all right, well, Tom,
there's
get
every
in the
chance.
hat. Anyway.
We wouldn't do that.
Use the code Go-To
full
Blink.
Of just Tom.
Yes.
Yeah, and get a
Tom
month
again.
free.
Unbelievable.
This is very exciting. So talk us through. We're just serving ourselves up here some pig's head, some sausages, and what's this little salad?
Little fennel and apple salad with a bit of bitter leaves.
Oh.
I was led by that on friend of the show, Valentine Warner.
Yes, your hero.
My hero.
Who's also made the pig's head recipe, right?
Hero of pig cookery. Yeah,
He wrote a really good article the other day about protein.
Did he?
About how people see meat as protein rather than
Well,
what
everyone
it
calls it protein now, don't they?
Yeah.
It's become a thing. What's the protein on that plate?
Yeah.
You're like, fucking grow up.
Yeah. Yeah.
Piece of meat.
And this is the thing I said to someone the other day. They said, "What meat do you sell?" I said, "We don't sell meat. We sell Dexter's. We sell." So you get the you get the story to it. We could just sell meat, no problem, and people would be buying meat and they wouldn't really care what it is. And I think if you're just selling meat, then you haven't cared about it. If you haven't cared about it, then the quality isn't there like this.
So is the restaurant going to be open every day?
Look at that little
What's the
morsel
deal
there,
there?
Freddie?
Christ.
Every day but Monday.
Okay. Evenings, daytime.
Yeah.
Fuck me.
Well, there's gonna be at the moment. I think there's gonna be a breakfast and brunch offering, and then lunch, and then that sounds a lot, doesn't it? Especially
Sounds never.
Yeah.
24/7.
You're rewriting your
My
business
friend
plan.
used to run a lorry calf in the Midlands back in the 70s, whatever.
Yeah.
And it was 24/7, apart from Christmas Day. And they had no door. They had no door because it's 24/7. So people come on the side. So they just got a piece of wood on Christmas Day, nailed it shut, and then came on Christmas on Boxing Day and crowbarred it off, and then started again.
That's
It's not going to be like
It's
that.
not that.
No.
But there will be lots of truckers in there.
That is absolutely
Yeah,
gorgeous. Well, Ben, maybe we can get this on the menu in there.
Well, I mean, let's speak to who's going to be behind the stoves.
Can't say.
No, okay. Well, whoever it is, we'll speak to them.
Yeah, there's going to be a massive announcement. It won't be me. I loved cooking. But I realised when I came out of the Abbey, and that's a long story why I did it and finishing it, and then sort of commuting from Kentish Town to the farm.
Madness.
But when I came out of there, and as much as I enjoyed it, I'd said I know where I want to be, and that's in the field. That's working.
Really?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Did you have any nightmare days in the kitchen there?
Oh God. Yeah. Yeah, a lot of the stuff didn't work for a start when we got a lot of really good publicity. When Time Out went free, it was the day it went free. We got a 4-star review in Time Out.
Wow.
Right. I guess the guy had come when we weren't busy, and he just been. I don't think I was there. I don't think he was very well looked after, and he just wrote this glowing review. And the phone wouldn't stop ringing. You put it down, and it'd be ringing again, and it's harrowing. And then people were turning up to this fairly down at hill pub to eat steak and drink fairly average red wine.
Yeah.
With I could not get it into the staff's head to remove the bar flies from the vinegar bottles. It was just a blind spot. There were many blind spots. So you sort of go and put vinegar on your chips, and there'd be 20 fly, and I'd be like, this isn't great, is it? So we need to.
Should we try and remove those for next time?
And I'm like, oh yeah, that doesn't look too good. You don't really want dead flies on your chips, unless of course we made a point of it. I should have done that.
You should have done.
So yeah, there was lots of
Another form of protein, perhaps.
yes.
Christ. Sorry. Yeah.
Oh, where were you when I needed you? So yeah, it was fundamentally the food is fantastic. We tried a few different things, but you kind of.
At least you know the things to get right this time.
Yes, absolutely. It was right near the veterinary college, and they would come on a Friday and Saturday till 2 a.m, and it would just be a sea of silver sambuca in the morning, glinting off the walls. Yeah, well, the sun would come round and it would just be sambuca 6 foot high on the walls, not cleaned off, sticky floors. That's kind of what you're dealing with.
Christ.
And then somebody comes in a suit and tie to eat a magnificent steak.
Just ignore the sticky walls.
You've got to sort of say, Anyway, it was character building.
Yeah. There we go.
You obviously supply so many great restaurants in London, but what are some of your favourites to eat in?
Well, Lyle's has just closed, but Lyle's I think was right up there with James Lowe.
Yeah.
Phenomenal every time I've been there. And James was a fantastic chef because he just wouldn't waver on quality, and I supplied him from the very beginning, 11 years ago. Camberwell Arms, of course, phenomenal place. And I started supplying St. John in 2003, but I hadn't eaten there until January last year.
Really?
Or January this year. I don't know what.
But they never said to you,
they always
sit down.
But
you're
yeah, but no, you can't. You get there
You're
at
always in the van.
Yeah, in the smoking van.
Yeah.
And you get there at 8:30 at night or whatever, and you're just sort of like, I can't really. I mean, they'd give you incredible bread to take away and things like that, but I would always go to bread and wine. So I'd always eaten at St. John, but it was just bread and wine.
Okay.
For some reason, just always go over there.
So how was it when you finally sat down?
At St. John?
Yeah.
Well, we went to the wine tasting...
In France?
No, at the mothership in Clerkenwell back in January. And fantastic, absolutely phenomenal day. Wine was fantastic, food was superb, and I mean, it was always going to be, wasn't it? But it was just quite a quirk that I'd never had.
Yeah, that's mad.
Yeah, I don't know. Anyway, bread and wine is phenomenal. That's one of my favourite
it's
places
outrageous.
to go. Yeah, that's really good. Clove Club is very good. Now, I don't eat there an awful lot because I'm a poor farmer.
Yeah.
But where there were times when I was supplying pit queue, I would do pit queue and then I would end up at Clove Club and then I would drive home. And Clove Club would sort of say, would you like some food before you go? Yeah, I would. And sit at the bar and just, yeah.
Was that, so you still supply Isaac, do you?
Yeah, we still do, yeah. I'm not on the van anymore, so I don't get any...
You don't get the treats?
I don't get any treats, Wanderer's treats.
What was it he used to put out? He used to have that like fried chicken in a little bed of
pine cones.
Pine kernels or pine... What would he be giving you? Stuff from the menu, though?
Oh, yeah, no, absolutely.
Just dishes.
Yeah. I mean, just...
So just casually having a 2 Michelin star meal.
Yeah.
In between.
Before driving home.
Off meat.
Yeah. Slightly covered in blood. Blood stains down the t-shirt. Sat next to somebody who's, hello. Yeah. What do you do then? Just murdered someone. But I get free meals.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was that was
That's incredible.
Nice. And the food is just, you can see what it's 2-star.
Yeah, it's unbelievable.
What about?
It's really good.
Yeah, it's really good.
Thankfully.
Yeah, of course.
It wouldn't be terrible if it was awful.
Yeah, it was always.
It was really good.
It's good, right?
So, Ragstone cheese, Neil's Yard, made in Dawston, on the hill, and I drive up there every week, and I collect 1,000 litres of the whey, and I bring it back down to the pigs, and I give it to the pigs.
Wow.
And it's just pig. It is pig crack.
Yeah, really, they fucking love it.
Just we got some Berkshires at the moment, and they come. They can smell it before you get there. You're coming up the road. They look.
Really,
it's on the way,
and they dive headlong like this, and they just belly flop into it, and it just goes everywhere, and they just, and their eyes roll back in their head.
Really, with the ecstasy of it.
Oh, and then if you run out, and they need liquid, and you get some water, and you pour it in, they hear it, they run over and they. Oh, what's this? It's like giving. It's like giving someone a lucky saint.
Yeah, a dud. What about the worst customer you've ever had, either restaurant-wise or privately, or back in the restaurants you used to, or back in the kitchens, I suppose?
Yeah, we had a few. That's all right. You get people who come and you've dry aged beef for 3-4 weeks, and they come in. They're like, and they first of all they cut the fat off, put it over there. And you're like, oh god, here we go. And then they cut into it, and they go, oh my god, steaks off, and then you've got to go out. But this was half the problem we had. We had, okay, it's waiting staff would come over. They'd be fishing the flies out of the vinegar, and then they'd say, someone's not happy. And I said, is the steak off again? And so you go out, and it was the worst customer becomes the best customer because they don't know what you're talking about. And so and obviously you can't. Well, you would stand out there for 10-15 minutes explaining why the steak tastes the way it is. But obviously the kitchen's on fire while you're doing that, and the tickets are building up. But you do it because you're like, I understand you may not have had good steak before. I'm always reticent to sort of say, oh yeah, we do the best steak and things like that, because people's tastes are different.
Yeah.
But you do find over the years that people do say your meat is pretty good. So you're kind of like, I'm pretty confident this. So you talk to them, you tell them why it tastes the way it does, and then they go, oh, this is absolutely phenomenal.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I was just worried it was off. A meat can go off, can't it? Well, yeah. Right.
And what they're responding to is that like slightly higher flavour in it.
Yeah, flavour. They're responding to flavour. Honestly.
Yeah, but that genuinely, that is what they're, because
generally,
the commodified meat is really quite bland.
Oh, it's so sad. Why would you take an animal to that point and kill it, and then it be meat? Slap a meat sticker on it and go, that's meat. And you're like, oh, meat. I need meat. And then you're getting into the protein argument again. I need protein.
Yeah.
And so last year, due to sort of farming economics and efficiency, I killed my calves.
Okay.
And I felt awful. My soul was completely destroyed. I never wanted to do it. 20 years of doing it, people always say, can you do veal? And I said, no, because beef is so good. Why would you do veal, really?
Yeah.
And veal, predominantly, is pretty rough.
Yeah.
And I said, just not going to do it. But then it just made economic sense to move the calves on a bit. If you move a calf on earlier than you were going to, the cow recovers. So you're taking the calf away. The cow is not having that drain from her. So she might be. So if you're calving in and around by April, you would normally take the calf from the cow in January to give her the 3 months. Obviously, it's hot. It's a winter, so she's suffering from the elements. She's having something pulling milk out of her, and by then, hopefully, she's in calf. So it's a 3-way pull on her. So January, and they're looking pretty weathered. So if you take the calf off, so I thought if I take the calf off in sort of October, then she's got many more months to recover, and she'll look better for it. Just really was awful. But if you're in the meat business, that is what you're going to do. Okay, so you might have pets, you might give some animal names, whatever it is. I've got a pet now. He's almost a 1,500 kilo Angus steer called Darkside Radar. Don't ask me why. It was on his cattle passport when I bought him. But he's a pet now. He's 9. He's huge.
So
and
he just swans about.
He's a bloody pain, yeah, because he's so tall. He's like a racehorse. He leans over brand new fences and snaps them to eat something on the other side. Anyway, I can't kill him. He's a pain. But he's a one-off, so I kind of put all my love into him, and I'm just like I'm going to utilise everything else. But like I say, we don't sell meat. We sell...
Was the veal delicious, though?
Oh, I mean, this is what I'm getting to. I mean, it's just the best thing.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. Like, chefs very rare. Once you work with someone for so long, they're not going to ring you every time after you've delivered, oh, that lamb was amazing, whatever. But every chef to a man and woman called me to say, this is just the best product you've ever brought us. Because you've got a calf, which is obviously pretty tender, or very tender, that's been born in April, and then it's drunk mother's milk for its entire life. I mean, you take the calf away and it's still got milk dribbles down, and you put it in the trailer to take to the slaughterhouse. It's been drinking spring water. It's had the best season, so it's had the first knockings of spring, then it's had the summer with the sun on its back, and it starts grazing. Some calves will start grazing at 10 or nibbling at 10 years.
Yeah.
Sorry, 10 days old. And so it stands to reason why it's going to be an absolutely phenomenal product, and it was.
It was again?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Right. You're in the veal game now.
Yeah. I kept a couple of the females for future breeding, but and this is the thing. If you produce something as wonderful as that, you'd be absolutely mad to not do it again. But if it had been, oh, this is awful, and I should just wait till they're 3-4 years old, the beef is so incredible. But when you get to that point, and of course when you see the benefit to the cows come sort of late November are shining.
Yeah.
They've never looked like that before, because we winter ours outside as well, so they're they're to the elements. But when you see that benefit as well, yeah, it does make sense to do it. Yeah. So it will be done again, unfortunately.
What do you think about the dairy cows? Everyone loves them, San Sebastian. Those old dairy cow steaks.
Ex-dairy?
Yeah.
Well, I don't really know enough about it. I don't know whether it's an ex-dairy. So we sell ex-dairy nannies, and which is a lovely circle. The goat's milk that goes to make the ragstone is the waste way that we give to the pigs, and we sell the nannies in the arch as well.
That's
so it is a nice circle. It's quite niche.
Yeah.
We're not selling 20 a week. Beautiful meat. The fat doesn't set quite like it does on a sheep. It just won't set at all, actually, over 3-4 weeks. they have a substantial carcass. I don't know whether the ex dairies are they're finished. Their yield goes down, so the farmer just slaughters them immediately. Are they fattened on then, or are they? I don't know. But
taste wise, have you had one?
Yeah.
Not a fan.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, maybe it was the wrong dairy cow that I had that day. But our cows and the cows that we buy are milking their whole life, not day-to-day milking, not 2 milks a day or whatever, and huge udders and clothes horses with the sheet thrown over them that look like that. But they're beef cattle that are continually milking. So are they not ex-dairy?
Yeah, very good point.
So, but when a cow when I've decided that cattle is she might lose a quarter, so you got of her udder, and you think, well, they're not producing as much milk, so she will then go out to grass. So she'll improve. She might be skin and bone herself, but she'll go out and she'll come back fat. So you got fat on the meat, and that is an ex-dairy. That could be deemed an ex-dairy as well.
Definitely. And
we do cattle at sort of. I've done the oldest cow I've done is 18 years old.
Oh, wow.
Absolutely incredible.
Really?
Yeah.
And sold it into the restaurant, like someone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was another thing when I went back to farm, that farmers would say, "Oh, these old cows, like they're only good for dogs, so just chuck her in the mincer." I said, "What, the whole thing? Chuck her in the mincer and just feed her the dog is no good." And I thought, "How?
What the fuck?
What? Yeah. I mean, you've got to stand back and think about all the chemical balances and shifts in a cow while she's carrying a calf, when she gives birth, everything. When they go for the winter, they come out of the summer, they're into the autumn, go into the winter, the fat reabsorbs into the muscle, all of these things. And for 18 years or 14 years, whatever, and you think, why can't that? And we dry age them, obviously. Yeah, I mean, it was just the first one we ever did. I think it was with James. Called him up and I said, I got a bit of a hunch. He was at Bread and Wine then. And he said, just send half in or 4/4. Well, it's just phenomenal.
Yeah.
It's just, why wouldn't it be?
Yeah.
So we do a lot of those.
Have any of these old farmers who gave you a hard time on the way up and, thought you were mad for doing what you're doing, has anyone sort of acknowledged now that you had an idea and it was half decent?
No, they're all dead.
Really?
Yeah, most of them are dead. Look at average age for a farmer is 70. It was 20 years ago.
It's not surprising.
So there's none along the way you've said, like, you know what, Tom?
Well done.
Well played. Yeah.
No.
No, really?
No. And that includes my granddad.
Really?
Yeah. He said I'd go bust after a few weeks. And
23 years later.
23 years later, yeah. He died a few years ago. But he even then, before he died, he just couldn't.
It'll never work.
And he still thought I was going to go bust. He just couldn't work it out. It just was so alien to him.
Yeah.
How are you doing it? Why are you taking it to the people? Just send it off in a trailer and it's gone. And then some money will come back.
Yeah.
I say, yeah, but not enough money. Well, no, well, that's how it works, isn't it? You go to the bank and you borrow more, don't you? So what? Yeah, granddad will go to the bank and borrow more. There's still still the same farmers come up to me and say, how'd you do it? What'd you do? How'd you get there? Well, you drive in a van. Where now? London. Oh, I'm not going there.
Yeah.
Well, try it. Just take the head off a sheep, put it in the back of a van. No. Cotswolds as far as I'll go. Like, I won't go any further. He said, no, try it. You've got to do it. But of course, what was fortuitous for me, I came to London and then I was inside out. Yeah, so I hadn't really been I wasn't a dyed-in-the-wool farmer. No. I hadn't been subjected to all of these myths and what have you on the farm, and the government hate you and blah blah blah, blah and all these things, and townies are townies. I started off in London and I got chatting to the I hate the word, but to the consumer, to the customer direct, and they were loving it.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, everyone back home says you're all plonkers.
Yeah.
And then, so you go back to the farm. You go back to the farm. You bring the chefs with you. Come and look at grass, and come and look at the sheep, and come and look at this. And yeah, absolutely incredible. I couldn't work out how it had been so difficult. But farmers still ask me today, how do you do it and how do we get into it? But very few actually take the plunge.
On the flip side, or are there such thing as young farmers? And do you now get people coming to you saying, can we do what you're doing? Like, does anyone ask for advice?
Yeah, not many. There's you know, there's one reason the industry is knackered, and there's just lack of education beyond agriculture.
Yeah.
And there are so many stereotypes, and there's so many myths and lies, and there is a big town and country divide, and both sides. But as I found, actually, the urban dweller would love to know more and be more involved in the countryside, but the country folk have got a real, in my experience, obviously that's a generalisation, but yeah, in my experience, there's a real sort of.
So would they consider what the farming community consider what you're doing almost something entirely different?
Oh, completely. Yeah.
You're not really a farmer.
No, you are a farmer, but they just kind of stop at that, and Well, I used to ring up restaurants and I'd say, "Can I speak to the chef?" And whoever would pick up the phone and say, "Who is it?" And I'd say, "Tom." And they say, "Tom who?" And I say, "Well, Farmer Tom." And they say, "Oh yeah, Farmer Tom." Farmer Tom's on the phone, so it became known as Farmer Tom. Right, it's fair enough.
Yeah,
right. You go to market now and buy some sheep, and the auctioneer will knock them down to Farmer Tom, and farmers are going, "Who the fuck does he think he is? We're fucking farmers. What's so special about him? I'm Farmer John. He's Farmer Paul." I said, "No, it's like a name, isn't it? It's like a country." And you go to, like, we're like nuns in the city. You don't see a farmer, do you, in the city?
No.
So, like I said, that's just the way to set you apart, and that's actually what the business is called, and that's how it's working. But I'm not trying to say like I'm the only farmer in Herefordshire, although there aren't many left. But so yeah, that's the way it works, and within that, they kind of think, well, what makes you more special than me as a farmer?
Yeah.
But you're taking the knowledge further.
Yeah.
That's what we, as I say, that's what we hope to do with the business.
Well, you are definitely doing that.
Education.
You've been absolutely incredible. Thank you so much for coming in. We hope you enjoyed the incredible meats, which Ben has cooked perfectly.
I'm going to keep going.
Yeah, you're getting that sausage. We're going to finish by going, what is your go-to Hall of Fame? The greatest dish you've ever had?
Well, the greatest dish I ever had was at the Camberwell Arms in Oxford. Tony Abano's chef.
Yeah.
Former Anchor and Hope and Alistair Little. Mm-hmm. And it was a smoked fish rarebit on a bed of chard.
Ooh.
Yes, shouldn't have really worked. I didn't think it should have worked really, and it wasn't on the menu. And the waitress said, "Oh, we have got this smoked fish." And I said, "Yeah, go on," because Tony is a phenomenal chef,
you trust him.
and I supplied him over the years. And you go into the kitchen, you see this things cooking, and the smells. I burst into tears.
Really? Was that good? Christ.
Yeah. No, I know. I was sobbing. Could barely eat it. I was very drunk as well. Yeah. No, it was just.
Unreal.
I was mystified that it could work. Really, it doesn't.
No.
Melted cheese on a smoked fish on a bed of chard.
No.
It doesn't.
You're sort of breaking some rules and putting things.
Lots
together,
of rules are broken, and I just
that's
thought
where deliciousness lies.
Yeah, but he can't get much wrong. So anyway, there we are.
Yeah.
I chose well.
Well, Farmer Tom, congratulations on everything you've done, and we wish you the best of luck for the restaurant. We're definitely going to be coming down for breakfast, brunch, lunch, and supper.
Excellent.
It's open 24 hours a day, Freddie.
24/7.
But we'll be enjoying it. That's Sally. We've got time for. Please subscribe to the channel, leave us a great comment, and don't forget that Blink code, including yourself, Farmer Tom.
Go to
Blink, and you'll get a free month for all the restaurants listening. What song do you want us to play you out with?
Got to be Delilah, isn't it?
Yeah, it's got to be. Here it is. Thank you. Nice one. That was great.